Hello, everybody, and if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the Christmas edition of Something Old, Something New, Something Gifted, Something Blue. Before we talk about the project, I'm going to ask you to please do all of the things. Give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscribe if you haven't done that already. If you hit the notification bell, you will find out every time I upload a video, which by my time standards is usually 3 a.m. So, just so you're aware, you'll have those when you wake up. And for everybody who does do that, thank you so much. I truly do appreciate it. Now, it has been a little bit since I talked about this project, because it's been, I think, since August since I even updated it. And I don't even know when I last explained the origins of this project. It's been quite a while. So this uses the hashtag #OldNewGiftedBlue. This project started January 24th of 2022. So next month will be 2 years. There is no sign-up sheet for this. This is quite simply a pick 4 products, an old, a new, a gifted, like a gift with purchase even, and something with blue on it. You set your own goals. You kind of just do your thing. It's supposed to have monthly updates, but yeah, that kind of went by the wayside. So this began with a conversation between Jessica and Misty. So I always give them both credit for it. Misty says Jessica created it for her. I kind of say it's both of them because Misty had wanted a small project where she could use, both new and old things, but nothing like big. Because a lot of the Fantastic Ladies projects are bigger. So she just wanted something small and simple. And Jessica then started thinking about the wedding rhyme when she had said old and new. And that was how this was born. But instead of something borrowed, Jessica changed it to something gifted. Pretty easy because, borrowing makeup can be kind of nasty, depending on if it's from family or whatever. We gift each other stuff all the time, but not the point. So that was how this project started out. And as soon as I found out they were doing it, we got the Christmas shirt too. Yay. As soon as I found out they were doing it, I decided I wanted to jump in. And I just thought this was so cool. And then I started thinking about the things that I didn't know. So I'm the one that gives you weird wedding trivia. That's what you get with my updates. There are some other people doing this project. Now, it's also on Instagram, and I think Jessica might be doing it on Instagram if she's still doing it. There's no end date, so it really doesn't matter when you join if you want to go ahead and do this. But same hashtag there. Everybody that I know of that's doing it is listed in my description box so that you can find them. If you're doing this and I've missed you, drop me a comment so I can add you to my description box. All right. Now, how we play this game is that I start with whatever I had in the project, and then I give you whatever bizarre wedding trivia has occurred to me to look up, and then I give you what I'm bringing in. So, and then I give you a music moment too, because that's a me thing too. I really just take off with other people's stuff, don't I? Anyway, what I had way back was for an old product, I had a Yensa lip oil. It was the Super 8 lip oil. And I was worried that it was going to be going bad, and it had. I did end up having to declutter that, so it never showed up in my empties or anywhere. It went into the trash. It was gritty, which I don't think they're supposed to be, and then it was leaking. So it was making a mess. I couldn't carry it with me anywhere. It had to be on something so that it didn't leak all over whatever. It was sitting on like a nightstand it was not worth it, and I tossed it. Then for my new, I had the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix, and you actually recently just heard about that, if not saw it. I don't think I had the small thing anymore, but I had finished that. It was just a trial size. I usually put minis or trial sizes into this project. My gifted was the Philosophy Dose of Wisdom, which I loved and have since bought the full size and have used that in projects too. Then my blue was just the little CeraVe facial moisturizer. It was the AM one that has the sunscreen, which I don't really care for, but I had a little sample. I used it. It's gone. Okay, so let's talk about what popped into my head for no good reason other than these things just happened to me about some wedding stuff. Well, since this is the Christmas edition, what I decided that I wanted to do and I started thinking about was like Christmas weddings. So is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? Well, we got some mixed reviews here. There are a couple of things that I want to just give you for laying the foundation. There is an old wives' tale that says a December bride will be fond of novelty, entertaining, but extravagant. And then there's a superstition that says when December snows fall fast, merry and true love will last. Which I thought those were both kind of cute, but there's breakdowns for every month, so you're going to be getting those from me as we go through this. Hopefully I can actually get all of the months in and give you all of the old wives' tales and superstitions about marrying in those months. So Christmas weddings. Well, there are a lot of sources that say, hey, this might be a good idea, especially if you receive a proposal or give a proposal in December. That gives you a year then to go ahead and plan. Now, some of the upsides to doing a December wedding are that there are just fewer weddings in December and winter in general than there are in the spring and summer. So you may have more opportunities for exploring possibilities, and then you may also not be competing with other people, and your guests won't be suffering from wedding fatigue from having to go to a wedding every single weekend. And your event then is going to stand out a little bit in that regard. Some things that kind of fall into the plus and minus. So we're going to go through them on the plus side first, and then we'll talk about the negative parts of it. But your venues are already decorated a lot of times. So that kind of cuts back a little bit on how much you have to plan. So that's a good thing. Decor decisions are easier, and you might even get extras because it's sometimes a slower season for wedding event companies or event companies doing weddings, wedding planners, that kind of thing. So you may not get a cost break, but they might throw in freebies. And then your colors. Well, this kind of takes a lot of the decision making out of it because you can just go with what's already built in. And this gives you options. It's not just red and green, but you're also looking at, you could use gold, silver, blue, white. So if you want to have a winter themed wedding, you have a few choices that are already going to probably be incorporated into what you're looking at. Now, the upside that I don't see a huge drawback to at all is that there are a plethora of Christmas playlists that exists. So you can actually pick like a jazzy playlist or whatever. If you're going to have your DJ, it's going to make it a lot easier because a lot of these things are already created. So you don't have to, I mean, if there's certain songs you want, you're still going to put those in, obviously, and there's still going to be some traditional wedding type of stuff. But as far as like background music during dinner, things like that, you can just go, hey, I like the songs on this list and I want it to be jazzy, or hey, I like the songs on this list and I want it to be traditional, like old style Christmas music or whatever. And that takes a lot of the work out of it for you for getting that song list together. Then you can do guest favors based on the things that you love about winter. So if you have a favorite hot cocoa, if you have a favorite other warm drink or something like that, you can incorporate that into the guest favors that you leave. So that's not a bad idea. Then we have got, of course, the photo op. Now, if you choose to do this in like a winter wonderland type of idea, you've got the snowy backdrops, you've got that nice white. I mean, it does make for nice photos. It truly does. But then there's the option too, is if you decide that you want to do it around the holiday time, but do it as a getaway, you've got the beachy theme also, which makes for beautiful photography. All right. Now you've already got guests that are probably going to be somewhat cheerful. It's a good time of year. It's a lot of fun. Granted, there's some stress, but for the most part, weddings are fun. They're celebrations. People are usually happy, and people are already in a mood that kind of is elevated from the whole Christmas season. You, well, they say as a bride, you have the best anniversaries. Easy enough to remember, too. And then you've got families already gathering or taking vacations. So incorporating that into something where you already know that people are coming in might make it easier. You don't have to worry about pulling them from other summer vacation plans or things like that. You've got some lower rental cost at certain venues if they're not, because they're probably not being as booked for weddings for sure. So that may save you some money there. You you have a little bit less stress compared to the spring and summer weddings as far as inclement weather. If you were planning to do like an outside venue in the summer, you have to worry about rain, wind, humidity, excessive heat, all these different things that if you're doing a winter one, chances are you're going to be somewhere inside. So you're not as concerned with those things impacting the ceremony. So that's an upside. It's one less stressor for you. And this one I thought was a unique one. Asking the guests to do this as a black tie event is perfectly logical for this time of year because it makes the most sense when you have cooler weather to do the more formal, dressy type of clothing request for your guests, where that might not be as comfortable for, especially for the gentleman, if it's an outdoor venue in the summer. Black tie gets a little bit uncomfortable in warm climates. Now, the idea of this is that you can use all of the good Christmas food or your favorite Christmas foods if you want to do that for how you do your reception. In general, this is one of those things that's going to bring family and friends together. So that may actually get more of the family that you wouldn't necessarily see involved. And there's the idea of when you're doing this kind of a thing, because of the whole season being that idea of creating a cozy ambiance, that you can also keep them smaller and more intimate if you so choose. And then you've got garlands that you can wrap. One of the things that they said that was a really fun thing to do, and I think it's on my do's and don'ts list, is doing kind of mood lighting using a lot of candles. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. That actually does kind of set a stage, and you could do it like later afternoon because then you're going to have it dark earlier. So, all right. Now, the downside, which on some of these is the same situation, it's not good if you have a lot of out-of-town guests. That may be problematic. Travel costs more a lot of times during the Christmas season, so you need to be cognizant of that depending on how many people are coming and where they're coming from. Like airfare may be more expensive. Now, the other thing they say is that while some people are already taking off, for others, it may be that they're borrowing time from like their next year, and that may take away from some of the summer vacation plans. So is this a situation where you're then shorting them for the vacations that they had planned with their family further down the road? That's always something you should be aware of. Now, Christmas budgets may or may not. So you've got the people are in the mood for gifting, but because they're already planning on gifting, they may not have the extra budget for wedding guests, stag parties, hen parties, whatever. These things where you have multiple events where you're giving gifts, and sometimes wedding gifts can be more costly. So that may be a consideration. Now, hotel bookings and certain venues, perhaps not all of your churches, but certain venues cater to multiple types of events. So if you're looking at a time of year and a secular type of venue, you may be competing with a corporate entity who is doing a company Christmas or company holiday party. And now, because that is a big moneymaker for venues, a lot of times those are, because there are only so many nights that companies like to do these things, those weekends tend to be a bit more of a premium during the month of December. Now, we talked about the weather and how you don't have to worry about all of the bad things about summer. But the thing you do need to be aware of in the winter is that you have snow. Some places it rains in the winter, so you may have the ice thing. You have to plan on, if it snows the day of your wedding, that everything is going to possibly be delayed. So you still do have to worry about weather to an extent, but maybe a little bit less for yourself and more for your guests. Let's put it that way. Now, this is also the busiest time of year for a lot of people, so they may already have plans and may not be able to attend. It's kind of a catch-22. It's like, oh, yeah, it's a good time of year because you can get everybody together and you can do all these things, but then there's all these other commitments that people may be invited to parties and things that they need to attend with other family members too. Now, I said the thing that you like with the cozy atmosphere is that it does get dark earlier. So if you did an afternoon thing, you're going right into that evening ambiance. But that is also something you need to be aware of if you're doing photo ops. You're going to lose light faster if you're doing that. So you may need to plan your pictures accordingly. And then there's the risk of becoming the Christmas cliche. So don't overdo it with buying into that Christmas theme and make it a joke, unless that's something that you want to do. If you want it to be kitschy and you want it to be campy and you want it to be that really hardcore Christmas thing, if that is something that you can pull off with your style and that's something that's a fun thing for you, go for it. But otherwise, remember there's a line where it's buying into the whole theme and becoming a little bit too much. So that's something to be aware of. Now, Vogue actually put out an article of do's and don'ts. So with this, key things you need to know. Make sure you send out your save the dates really early. Digitally is best. You want to make sure that this is in these people's hands as soon as possible if they're going to have to make travel arrangements. You have to plan for those shorter days, so you have to plan what time you want your ceremony, where you're going to be doing it, what kind of a venue it is. I mean, is it a somewhat outdoor? And if it is, you cannot sacrifice the season for, or you sacrifice your guest comfort for the seasonal aspect of this. Be very aware of that. It does say have multiple backup plans because you don't know what you're going to encounter with people traveling. And if they get stuck, if they're from somewhere snowy and they get snowed in and can't make a flight, you may not have all of your guests in attendance. So you need to make sure you have all that ready. You want to offer like hot welcome drinks and cocktails maybe. Keep that warmer thing in mind. You could possibly even do like a hot soup as your first course. So you can embrace that part of the cold season. You want to make sure, this is key, make sure you have a coat and a boot check. And then for the wedding party too, make sure that they have their coats and their boots. And if you're going to do some outside photos, throw those winter boots on and keep your feet warm. You're not going to see them under the dresses anyway, because most likely your attendants are going to be in full gowns, that kind of thing too. Now with the guys, you might have to be a little careful. Those dress shoes on snow and ice are not always a good thing. So you may have to have alternate footwear for them, but then you have to have somewhere for all of them to stash that for your venue, for your actual ceremony and your reception. So make sure that's available to everybody. And then, like I said, candlelight is a good ambience versus maybe the colorful types of string lighting. That may be a little too over the top Christmassy. So candle lighting with a lot of evergreen may be a very good option. All right, now the don'ts. Do not go too crazy with the outdoor photos because you don't know if it's going to be snowing. You don't want your wedding party freezing. And you don't want your guests freezing either. So make sure that you've got them in a comfortable place and that if you're moving from one location to another that you have ample time, that if you're staying in the same location that you're not taking too much time away because then they're stuck there and don't have anywhere else to go. Now, that is key. So if you're going to be planning this, make sure that you're allowing for the fact that traffic may be slower. If it is snowing, traffic will slow down. If it's been icy, you want to make sure that you're allowing extra time for you to get to wherever you're doing photos if you're doing things off-site. And then don't assume that it's going to be cheaper because, like I said, you may be competing with larger entities. It may actually not be cheaper. So look around and figure out which is going to be advantageous for you, for your cost, but then also if you can get deals for hotels for that seasonal time of year for your guests. Those are the things that you need to be aware of. Now, the biggest takeaway of all of this is that the one thing you do not want to do is you do not want to get married on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day unless you are truly doing a private ceremony where you do not have a wedding party if you're doing just like your parents and your future spouse's parents and maybe siblings. You don't want to take away from anybody else's traditions, family plans, things like that. So avoid Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Just saying. All right. Oh, and then also keep in mind with that, you may, if you want to get married in a church, be interfering with church services. So that's another reason to avoid that. So there are your do's and don'ts for Christmas weddings. There are some that say, yes, it was a fabulous thing. It was wonderful. I'm so glad I did it. And then there are others that are saying, don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. I know this is your day and it's about you, but be careful of what you're trying to plan and what your expectations are from your guests, because you're taking away from something that is a family time a lot of times. So there you have it. That is the do and don't list that I have for you for December weddings. I don't know. It just seemed like kind of a fun one to look up because I was like, is a Christmas wedding a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a popular thing? How do people feel about it? What do people think? So now you know. You know what I know. As always, I got this from, oh my goodness, so many sources. Like I said, there was a Vogue article, there's a Martha Stewart, and like wedding expert thing, there's Brides Magazine, there's all these things. I link a list of references down in the description box. If this is something you actually do want to plan, here's some references for you if you want to read the articles. I don't think anyone ever has, but if it ever comes up, there you go. All right, now let's talk about, oh, why did I switch the page? That was kind of silly of me. I needed that page open. Let's talk about what I'm bringing into the project. I usually don't have my notes in the notebook, so I was skipping back to something else. What I have decided that I am going to bring in for the something old is this hemp's lotion. This is one of the 2.25 ounces. This is Sweet Jasmine and Rose. It weighed in at 82.1 grams. Now, generally, I can finish these in about a month because I use these as body lotions. But if I don't, I did take a weight on it. So if I actually get back to updating every month, we'll know where we're at. Then for new, this is new to me. I've never seen this. I've never tried this. This is by Bumble and Bumble, the hairdressers. This is a repair oil serum, and this is supposed to be, hold on a second, I think it's like a bonding serum. Good Lord. How do I even see out of these things? Yeah, I can't read that anyway, but I think that's what it's for. I think it's a hair bonding thing from Bumble and Bumble, and I have never tried it. I've never heard of it. It's a milky serum. It's got a dropper in it, so that'll be fun to use. It's a very small thing. This is just a 7 ml product, and sometimes I use a lot. So we'll see how quickly I can go through that and if I actually enjoy it or not. The bonding things, I'm this old and I haven't had that kind of stuff, so it's like, is it helping me? Is it not helping me? I don't know. But we'll give it a shot. And then for the gifted, I'm going to bring in one of the baby lawn combs because my big bottle is literally, well, when you're seeing this, it'll be gone. But I thought I would bring this in as an interim thing and just get this out of my collection, maybe some others and some other projects before I open a new regular size bottle. For blue, I got so many fun things in all of my little freebie bags. So we're getting all kinds of fun stuff. This is the L'Occitane, I think is how it is actually pronounced. This is the dry skin hand cream. That's what it is. This is a little one. It's a 10 ml, 0.34 ounce. I weighed it in at 12.6 grams. So I did take weights on all of these products just in case I don't get to finish them before the next update, but I'm kind of hoping to finish them by the next update. It's just nice to have those little things move through the collection fairly quickly. Now, let's get to the music moment. And for this one, I realized that I had been remiss and had not done Going to the Chapel. The Chapel of Love is the actual name of the song. It's we're going to the chapel and we're going to get married. Married. Yeah, you guys know. All right. So I looked into this song and for some reason, I was not thinking that this was the Dixie Cups, and I don't know why. But that is who actually had the first hit with it. The song was written by Jeff Berry and Ellie Greenwich. I think it's Greenwich. Greenwich. That's not Greenwich. It's Greenwich. I'll put her name on the screen because I'm obviously massacring it. They actually had recently gotten married. And so this was one of those things that Jeff Berry said it was kind of on his mind because they had recently got married. So this is what came of him noodling around with that concept. So this is also a Phil Spector thing. We're talking, this came from the Brill Building, but this is a Phil Spector production also. Now, the Dixie Cups made this song famous in 1964. It actually was first recorded in 1963 by Darlene Love, but that wasn't released until 1991 because Phil Spector wasn't happy with it. The Dixie Cups were two sisters and a cousin out of New Orleans, and they went by a different name. I need to find it. I think it's the Meltones. Yes, the Meltones. And they're one of the girl groups of the 60s, obviously. They did have other songs after this. They did have hits with them. The most famous one that I knew of from the list was Aiko Aiko, which was also, I believe, the name of their last album, and I think it was their last single released. That also charted really well for them. Now, like I said, it is two sisters, Barbara Ann and Rosalie Hawkins. Their cousin was Joan Marie Johnson. They started singing together in grade school. So originally they were Little Miss and the Muppets. The name, then they performed it with the name the Meltones. They got changed to the Dixie Cups because what happened was they were, what was going on with the whole record label thing is that Lieber and Stoller, if you know songwriting, you also know that they're huge names. They, with another guy, actually started Redbird Records. So the Dixie Cups version was the debut release of that new label. Now, it was also on the Ronettes' debut album in November of 64. So this is, Darlene was April of 63. The Dixie Cups were April of 64, but it was recorded in February. And then the Ronettes one was November of 64. Bette Midler's also done this. Who else? There's so many people that have done this. It's insane. The Beach Boys did it. The Blossoms were the first to record of the version in 63, but it never released as a single. So this song has got a very interesting history. It comes out of the Brill Building, which there is so much brilliant stuff that comes out of there. It's a Phil Spector thing. And back in the day, crazy as he is, he put out some excellent quality music. You've got it off of the brand new Lieber and Stoller label, which is awesome. You have got some seriously big names recording this thing. So this song has a really storied history to it. Now, you've also got Spanish versions of it. There's a Jamaican reggae version of it. There's a punk version of it. Elton John did a version of it for the movie Four Weddings and a Funeral for that soundtrack in 94. So this thing has stood the test of time. It charted. It knocked the Beatles off of number one, actually, when it hit number one, and it stayed there for about 3 weeks. And I'm trying to think of when that happened. June 6, 1964. They took the number one spot and stayed there for 3 weeks. Now, this also hit 22 in the UK singles. It hit number one in Canada as well. And it's listed, of course, in the list of the 500 greatest songs of all time and all that other business. It counts in there too. This is the only song by the Dixie Cups that made that Rolling Stone 500 greatest list. They are on they actually ranked higher on the Billboard list of 100 greatest girl group songs of all time. So this is one of those that is just kind of all over the boards. It is something that has continued to exist. You will hear it on oldies channels if you listen to those. So I am going to see what I can find for a Dixie Cups version that I will link down in the description box for your viewing and listening pleasure. I'm guessing I'm going to have a hard time finding a live version, but if I can, I will include it. But I'm sure there is going to be some kind of a remixed, updated, stereo, whatever version of this. So that is what we have got going on. So, as always, I want to say thank you for giving me a little bit of your time. I want you to check out Jessica and Misty. And their IGs are different than their channels here on YouTube, but you can find their IGs through their channels here on YouTube. So I'm going to link you to their channels because I think that's what I've got in there. And anybody else that I could find that was on YouTube or IG doing this. I know Sam, First Time Panner, and I want to say Jenny from Red Dirt and Stardust, but I can't remember if she's on YouTube or Instagram for that. But there are a few other people doing this. Check them all out. All right, everybody, that is all I've got for you. Until next time, see ya. Bye.